Hi friends, welcome to another casual garden stroll through my southeastern Wisconsin zone 5B, 6A garden. I say it in that way because I talk about this all the time, but this past week has been illuminating. So in the 2023 redo of the USDA hardiness zone maps, my garden went up to a 6A. It's a skinny little band within a couple of miles of Lake Michigan that runs from like roughly Sheboygan all the way down to the state line that they designated as 6A. We all know that the hardiness zone maps are, the hardiness zone maps, we've talked about this before, so I won't get into a lot of it, but they are as good as they can be for what they are, which is simply an average of the, it's not even average, it's the lowest, it's the very lowest temperature registered in an area averaged over 30 years or 20 years, one of the two. So it's marking one little moment in time, and it doesn't take into account a bajillion other factors that are involved in it. So oh boy, spit it out, Erin. It's the only tool we have currently to measure plant hardiness on a very broad scale. So when we're shopping for plants, the only way we know, it's the only tool we have. It is totally imperfect, and even I'm sure the people who make it would tell you it's imperfect, probably. But it's all we have. So we just have to use it as a guide and then take our own experiences and our own gut feeling into account to recognize how that factors into what we can actually grow in our gardens. So, case in point, a 6A, they say the lowest temperature in, lowest average temperature, lowest temperature in a zone 6 garden is negative 10 degrees Fahrenheit. And it goes by tens. So 5 is negative 20. So I don't actually know what the lows were in our garden over the past week, but when you wake up in the morning and it's negative 15 degrees and it stays that way till about noon, and the high is negative, I think the high the other day was negative 5, you know that that's not a zone 6 thing, right? So, fortunately, I guess, I have been applying, I recognize that the zone situation is not meant to be a perfect thing. So I plant accordingly. So I do have some zone 6 plants out there. I'm thinking specifically Begonia grandis, which is the hardy begonia that I've been trying to grow for 2 years now. Grows really great for me in season. Whether it overwinters or not, I don't know. I'll show you what I did for that. There's some hydrangeas that are hardy here, but are not necessarily like macrophylla types, but are not bud hardy. I would not be the least bit surprised if those die all the way back to the ground and we just are starting from scratch, which probably means if we have flowering, because a lot of them do bloom on new wood late in the season, it would be late in the season that we have that. So there will be some casualties in the garden because of this cold spell. We do have, one thing that's working in my advantage is we do have a little bit of snow. It would be better if we had I don't want this, but if we had like a foot of snow when this came, that would have been better for the plants. I'm just watching Darwin. I don't know what he's doing on the stairs out there. That would have been better for the plants, but you take what you can get, right? So that's been the weather this week. Today, it is a balmy 6 degrees. So we are going to go outside so I can talk to you mostly about a few of the things that I learned when an arborist came to my house this week. Finally, I've been trying really, really hard to get an arborist here, and it's been a very odd experience that I haven't been able to get one here. So on the day before it got super, super cold, it was Monday, I think somebody came out. We were bundled up. You know, it was kind of a quick conversation, unfortunately, because it was quite unpleasant to be outside. But I did get some answers to some of the conundrums that I've been looking at in the garden. I mean, actually, overall, I was quite pleased with what he had to say. So we'll talk about that when we get outside into that beautiful weather. In the meantime, multiple people have been asking me what I've been doing ordering for seeds because you guys are interested in that. So I'm going to tell you because I have been doing a little bit of seed ordering, not all of it, but I did get an order from Farmhouse Flower Farm, which is in Seattle, Washington. They have a beautiful booth at the Northwest Flower and Garden Show, which is how I learned about them. They sell dahlia tubers too, but really primo booth. So I ordered some seeds from them, and I ordered sweet pea seeds from them. So this is what, also with the sweet pea seeds, I'll just say this. Sometimes when I buy sweet peas, this is sweet pea flowers, the beautiful flowers. This is not edible sweet peas. The sweet pea flowers, every bit of that is poisonous. So don't be confused what we're talking about here. So this is what I got from them this year. I've been buying a lot of sweet peas this year because, as I mentioned in a previous video where we talked a little bit about seeds, I've been working my way through my sweet pea stash. Sweet pea seeds last for a long time for me, so I felt free to go a little crazy buying some more because they do last a fair amount of time. You usually get like 10 seeds to a packet, generally. And even though I grow about 30 or so sweet peas a year, sweet pea cells, sometimes there's 2 seeds in each one. If you have a lot of varieties that you're mixing up, you don't go through the seeds that fast. Anyway, this is what I got. Apricot Queen. Blue Shift. This is one I've grown before. It truly is a color changer. To give you an idea of the color changerness, this is the color on the packet. This is the color from the website right here, this kind of bluey purple one. So it really does change colors. It's quite cool. Disantra. It looks quite pink on the website, but I think it's like a flake one. I'm not sure, honestly. There's no descriptions on the back of the packets. High Scent. I bought it because of that. Even when they breed sweet peas, sometimes they're bred for the flowers and the long stems to be used in bouquets and stuff, and sometimes they are bred for scent. Rarely are the two things coincide. However, I will say this. Feel free to buy any sweet pea variety because they all have some scent. So even if they're not one of the highly scented varieties, you still get more scent out of a sweet pea than you do out of most flowers. So don't get too caught up in that. Limelight. This looks white here, but on the website, this is the picture right here. It definitely looks like a limey white flower, which you know I love lime, so I had to have that. Oban Bay is one of my non-negotiables, one of my very favorites, must grow. And then I have 2 from the Winter Sunshine series. This is light blue and sunshine and navy. And this is kind of odd coloring on this. I've seen this one in real life before, and it truly is like a dark blue. The deal with the Winter Sunshine series is that supposedly they're you can get them out a little bit earlier. So we're going to try that. We'll see. So that's what I bought from them. And then I did place an order with Select Seeds, and I thought I'd tell you about that. Now, Select Seeds is where I get most of my kind of weirder, or I don't want to say weirder. They're not necessarily weird, but more interest. They've got a really good selection of kind of interesting flowers. Salvia argentea is the first one. That is the sort of giant lambs on crinkly steroids looking plant that I always have to grow. Love it so much. Tassel flower, Irish poet, that's coccinea, Amelia coccinea. That's supposed to be a self-sower, but I grew it 2 years ago and noticed no self-sowing. So if it's self-sowed, that'd be great. But I don't want to be caught without it, so I'm going to keep starting some seeds until it gets to the point in my garden where I can reliably expect it to be a self-sower. Then I was having a poppy moment because I went absolutely insane on poppies. Amazing Gray, a Shirley poppy, Amazing Gray, which I have not done well with before, but I'm going to grow it differently. I'm going to start it in cells ahead of time rather than do some kind of broadcast sowing. I think I've been treating it like a breadseed poppy, Papaver somniferum, and I shouldn't have been doing that. So that one's going to get the treatment like anything else. Peony Black, which is one of these kind of shredded foliage ones, or shredded petal ones. Sometimes those will pop up in my garden because I occasionally have them in the garden, and then when I save seeds and they get all mixed up, sometimes I'll get one of those. It's kind of nice to have those in there. I don't know, I always love it when you save seeds and some weird thing pops up. Poppy Peshawar White. It's a white poppy? I don't know. Keys or Kiss, QIS. Bowling ball. I grew it last year, and I was so mad because I wanted to say, I didn't get to save a lot of seeds last year because I have this chipmunk who runs around. I watched him after trying to figure out what was eating all the seeds in my garden, or the seed heads. I watched a chipmunk run up a stem, go to the top of the stem, bite it off, and then run down. So it's the chipmunks who were doing it. And I had one of these bowling ball poppy seeds actually survive. And it was so cool. Now, you know that I grow poppy seeds as much for the seed heads as I do for the flowers. And I'm not kidding you. This is how big that seed head was. There's a video somewhere. I probably won't be able to dig it up off the top of my head because I think it was probably in a garden stroll. But it was this big. It was probably 2.5 inches. And I tried to save that thing. I wrapped it in foil because I was waiting for those seeds to mature enough to save it. I protected the stem. No, chipmunk got that one too. So I'm going to grow that one again because it was just cool. Mark's Mix is just a mix of breadseed poppies. Lauren's Grape, dark purple, Hungarian blue, lighter purple. Cherry Glow, which is kind of looks like a ladybird poppy, but it's kind of a brighter reddish orange, hence the Cherry Glow. And that is a breadseed poppy, I believe. Then nasturtiums, I ordered more baby orange, more baby red, and one called Vintage. I ordered purple hyacinth bean, ruby moon. I can't remember if I needed to order it or not, and I was too lazy to get up and look if I needed seeds of that, so I just ordered them. Hibiscus Mahogany Splendor, grew that a couple of years ago. A lot of you guys grow that. That's great. Celosia Asian Garden. I don't actually know where I'm going to use that, but I have found in the past that Asian Garden and, is it Flamingo? There's one Flamingo one. Kind of looks the same way. They can be they mix really well with other plants. I ordered a Gibsonii castor bean, even though I've got a bunch of other castor beans, but I'm going a whole hog on castor beans this year. Amaranth Dreadlocks, which will probably reseed for me, but I didn't want to take a chance on that either. So I will grow a few of those. I don't need a ton of those. Like 4 plants is all I need of those, basically. They're quite big and they need staking. And then I bought, as long as I was there, I ordered my favorite basil, which is Everleaf Emerald Towers, because again, I wanted to make sure I had enough of that. And since I was already ordering from them, everyone sells that. You can get that anywhere. But I just ordered that. So that's where I'm at on my seed orders so far. All right, let me gear up. Give me a few minutes here to get geared up. Not that you have to wait a few minutes. I will stop the video and start it again. So we can go trudge around outside in the snow and we can talk trees. Welcome to frigid Wisconsin. Okay, let's go talk trees. Got a little bit of snow overnight. Actually, I think it's snowing right now. Maybe that's when the snow fell. I don't even know. Honestly, I don't spend a lot of time outside lately, except for walking the dogs. Ooh, it's a little brisk on this side of the house. Holy smokes. Okay, so first of all, this is where the Begonia grandis is planted. Now, I'm a day late and $1 short on this, but I did grab some spruce boughs and just laid a bunch of them over them here. This is actually where I've got strawberry begonia planted in there too. So we're past the cold. I got that on there after the coldest part, but I think part of what's hard on plants is sustained cold. So my theory was I got these spruce boughs, just throw them on there. It's not going to do any harm, and you might save something. I should have had this on. I probably should have just put this on a month ago, to be perfectly honest, but I kind of forgot about it. So maybe it'll help, maybe it won't, but I figured it wouldn't hurt, certainly. Okay, let's back up so I can talk to you about this maple tree, which we've talked about multiple times here. Okay. Oh, okay. So here's the maple tree. And I have continually talked about this branch that sticks out right here. This is the whole tree right here. And when I talked, so the arborist came and looked at this, and I asked for some opinions on this. And he pointed out that there is, first of all, there's a little bit of dead wood here. This branch, it's very hard to tell because it's kind of appears to you as black and white. But this branch right here, that probably is mostly dead. There's a lot of dead wood on that, so that one probably should come out, or it's going to drop, one of the two. And then there's a little bit of dead wood that comes off of this big branch here, like there's a little bit right there. And I think this little loop-de-loo right here also has some dead on it. And there's a little bit of dead wood. If you look up there, I can actually see like a branch that's like laying in there. There's a little bit of that, but it's pretty minor. But when I talked to him about the shape of this tree and what we do with that odd branch, he suggested just leaving it. And he said that it would have been nice if it had been taken care of years ago, and by years ago, we mean probably well before I got here. So 40 years ago, it would have been nice if it had been taken care of, but it wasn't. And he said that maples, they will, you leave a big hole. Like if you cut that off, you would leave a large hole, and maples will continue that decay will continue to spread on a maple. So he said, sometimes the best thing to do with old trees, and by the way, I was shocked by how old some of the trees on this property are. He said sometimes with old trees, the best thing you can do is just kind of leave them alone. Like don't go crazy. Don't do a bunch of stuff to them. You kind of missed your opportunity 40 years ago to do something about in terms of shape or anything like that. So he suggested like cutting out the dead, if we wanted to, and then leaving that branch right there alone. Several people suggested, by the way, that it would be a great tree swing branch. I don't disagree. I just want to know who actually. Hang on, I got to turn the camera around for this. I have heated gloves too, although they're weird because the battery lives like right there. It's kind of an awkward thing. Okay, here's what I want to know about this tree swing thing that multiple people have mentioned. Okay, it's one thing if you have like kids or grandkids who are gonna like enjoy that. Is anybody, like, are you really putting tree swings in? I barely find time to sit on a damn bench in this garden or sit on a chair. Do you really think I'm going to go? I'm just not going tree swinging, guys. So anyway, that's the thought on the tree swing thing. It's not a bad thought, but just not for me. So, okay, let's look at some other trees. All right, the next tree I talked to him about is this oak, which is this tree right here behind the maple here. And a couple of things I asked him about were, well, first of all, it's kind of terrible branching on the top. Like it's just so weird. It's like it's odd. And clearly there have been some I don't know if you guys can see sort of the scarring on, but there have been big branches cut off it at the time. And he suggested, he goes, well, I think that happened because it was crowded in there and it was reaching for the sun. And so, there's just probably another tree, which I remembered then, right there was the enormous ash tree that had been here, which is when that came down because it died from emerald ash borers. That's when this whole garden got created, all because that ash tree had to come down, or fell down, or had to come down, one of the two. We must have taken it out because it would have wrecked something if it fell, because it was huge. So anyway, he says that's why the branching on this tree is really quite strange, because it just had no room, so it was just reaching for the sky. And because, of course, there had been this, that ash tree was immense. So then the other thing I asked him about was how it's sort of wrapping around the spruce here, which is a little bit of a concern because you don't really know how that relationship works. Might be fine, but it might also impede the future growth of this oak. So that one's a little bit up for debate about that. As far as our big beech trees, so this one right here, and then we have two right there. I wanted to ask about those because, of course, we lost the fourth of these beech trees just randomly in, I think 2020. I think it was 22 or 23. Just on like this hot June day, we looked and the tree had fallen. He thinks these trees generally look pretty good. He actually said he's not too worried about things. He thinks in general they look healthy. He did say that I asked him, because sometimes the arborists have more information, if we've got the beech leaf disease here yet, which I know is in Michigan. He said no. He goes, sure. He goes, of course it's coming, but he said we do not have that. There's no not any reports of that happening in Wisconsin yet. We didn't talk a lot about some of the trees in the woods here because, we were sort of looking at this from a point of view of taking care of mature trees and eliminating risks of trees that might, drop on people or houses or something. So over here, there's two trees that we wanted to well, here, I'll just show you something quickly. This is actually a birch tree, and I didn't even know that because that's how old it is. He goes, well, that tree's like just gonna fall over someday, which it definitely is. You look at that great hole in it though. I look at that hole, oopsies. I look at that hole every day and I'm like, where is the owl who should be living in there? Why is he not looking at me right now? Because it's such a perfect little hole in a tree. He's like, that tree's gonna drop. But we sort of looked at it at the angles. He goes, well, if it falls over, it's not gonna hurt anything. The worst thing would be is that if it fell that way, it might get caught up in that kind of newer maple. But that's like the worst case scenario. Then we came over here and looked at these trees. This is a huge Norway spruce with a huge maple next to it. I don't know what kind of maple. So interestingly enough, well, he thinks that this house was built in 1938. And he's like, well, I would guess a lot of these trees were planted when the house was built. He goes, they could have been here before. That's possible, of course. But he's like, there's a chance that we're looking at roughly that kind of age of tree here. So coming up on 100 years, but possibly older. He said, you can't tell just from looking at a tree. He did say this Norway spruce is, he said, they do have a lifespan. He said, maybe you get 10 or 15 years out of that tree, which is good to know. And one of the reasons we started planting the hornbeam hedge behind here was in case we ever lost this tree or, that tree didn't exist anymore, that we would have a block from the road behind us. Not that it matters much, but, it's nice. It's just kind of nice when you don't see houses all around you. It makes you feel a bit more enclosed. This maple tree has some issues. There's some dead in it. You can see some of it up there. It also has on this side an enormous hole in the side of it. Let's see if I can show you it. This is, I've had several families of raccoons living in there, lots of birds. I can only imagine what's in there at any given time. Where is it? Oh gosh, I hope it's bright enough for you guys to see this huge hole. But I don't see the other side of that hole. So there's a good chance that this whole trunk here could be, compromised. So we spent a little bit of time talking about that, and he's like, well, it would definitely crush your house if it fell towards the house. The good news is that we don't get a lot of strong east winds here. the east winds are pretty much blocked by the houses over there and stuff. So really the winds that tend to affect our trees are usually from the west, which means it would fall the other way and not crush a house. So we're just gonna, he's not saying it's a danger. He's just saying it definitely is old. It definitely has that big hole in it. It is too beautiful of a tree, though. I mean, look at the bark on this thing. It's such a glorious, glorious tree. I love it so much. So we're not going to do anything about it. And he's not necessarily recommending doing anything about it. He's sort of your risk tolerance level, right? So that's what he said about that. So in general, though, basically what he said was that we have got some really nice old trees on this property. He thinks in general, they're all in pretty good health. They're all getting old. I just want to talk to you about the spruce trees too for a second. He said they're all getting old, but they're all pretty nice, and he wouldn't recommend doing anything dramatic to any of them. He did recommend potentially doing some fertilizer treatments. He's actually recommending for the oak tree, he was actually recommending doing a PGR on there. That's a plant growth regulator to actually slow down growth, which I thought was interesting. I don't know. We're going to review that proposal that they sent over. I don't know if we're going to do any of that or not, but it was nice to be able to make some decisions, because if he had looked at one of these trees and said, you got to get that out of here, that would affect the decisions that we're making in terms of where we plant new things that come in and gardens and all kinds of stuff like that. So we've got a few decisions to make regarding that oak and the spruce, and if we want to do any sort of treatment or anything. And we have kind of a way forward planned for the maple tree on the other side of the house that I showed you originally, but it was a very worthwhile conversation. Let me turn you around so we can just talk about the spruce quick. So I did ask him if you can see kind of these bare branches in here, in this spruce. So like you see like how it's a little scruffy there. The one over there is particularly scruffy. And he said that's just the natural, hold on, I gotta go over again. That was Wisconsin for I gotta get my glove on again. He said that's just the natural sort of aging of a spruce. He said the needles will last 5 to 7 years and then they shed, and then new growth comes in. So there you go. That's the deal, in case you're wondering why, like at least, that was specific to this, but there you go. That may be what's happening. Well, so that was an incredibly good conversation to have. I'm so happy I was finally able to get a professional arborist out to take a look at things. Makes me feel good about things, and it's always nice when an arborist comes and compliments your trees, right? When a professional comes and says, oh no, they look good, you're doing a good thing here. So that was good. Okay, that is the garden stroll for this week. Hope you guys are staying warm, staying sane, and having a great day in your garden if you're able to get into it. All right, see you soon, guys.